Hey, welcome back, subscribers, to My World of Stocks, and welcome back to our Budget Community Portfolio series for the month of September 2025. It's one of my favorite series that we do on the channel. Chapters are down below in case you need to skip past this intro, but for anyone that is new here, just know that this is not my larger private portfolio. This is the smaller on a budget public one where I only deposit $100 each month into this new account. Then I use that money to invest in stocks, some of which is also influenced by you guys through various polls, comments, and messages that you send me, especially on Discord. And then I do an update video once a month here on YouTube, separated by two parts. First, we cover how the portfolio is performing so far with all the trades that we made last month in August. And that's followed immediately by part two, where I cover how each individual stock is performing so far, either up or down, and what I plan to buy in this current month here in September. Now, before we start though, just a little bit of housekeeping. If you'd like to get full access to this portfolio, as well as our private community Discord, where you can reach me, hang out with other members, and even get access to my daily stock trade, where I post a new stock purchase every single day, then you can get access to all of that and more by supporting me on Patreon. Link is in the description. And thank you to everyone that does support the channel, because I really couldn't do this without you. So thank you very much for that. And lastly, we do use SoFi for this account. I'm a big fan of it. It's completely free. It's got fractional shares, no fees, and it can even do a ton more, like setting up a Roth IRA account completely free too. Plus, if you use my referral link down in the description, you will even get a bonus $25 worth of stocks just for trying it out. No, commitment, no strings attached. So I highly recommend that you give it a try. But with all of that out of the way, let's go ahead and jump into part one now. Let's take a look at how the portfolio is holding up so far and all the moves that we made last month in August. Now, in all, this was another pretty good month for us, mostly because of how well diversified the portfolio is, because we actually have a couple of really bad performers that are mostly, I would say, being offset by the rest of the portfolio that is performing so incredibly well. And I'll explain what these are in just a second here. But in total, the portfolio climbed another 2% during the month as we continue to break new record highs on the account, being up a whopping 33% since creation less than 2 years ago, having now officially broken the $3,000 mark, which I'm extremely happy and impressed with, considering that I'm limited to only, $100 worth of spending per month. So to reach that milestone, it's a big deal. Very happy to see it. And by the way, some of that money that is in the account is actually still sitting in cash, more than $260 of it. So when we exclude that, our actual stock investments are up even more at a massive 37% profit for our stocks here. And so again, just very impressive and very happy with the performance of the portfolio so far. Now, having said that, in terms of spending, we did go a little over budget once again this past month, which is, starting to become a bit of a consistent pattern here of mine where I just keep going over budget. And it's mostly been ever since the big tariff dips that we saw in the market. I've still been, market has rebounded, of course, but I've still been finding just so many great stocks trading at really attractive prices ever since. And really, I would say the only downside of all of this spending, though, is that it is depleting our cash reserves, which is important to have in case of a big market downturn. So I am out there spending over budget because I see a lot of stocks I like. I want to buy more of them. But the problem is that it is starting to dip into our cash reserves a little bit. So my remedy for that going forward will be just once in a while, when it's absolutely necessary, I'll deposit an extra $100 just to beef up our cash reserves a little bit whenever it is getting extremely low. But I'll talk more about that towards the end of this video when I show you the deposit that I made for the month, for next month. Okay, in total though, I did spend $115 last month, and during that time I did run a few polls to see what you guys wanted me to buy. So that includes this one here from Discord, where I asked which of our 10 smallest positions should I buy more of, to which Adobe barely squeezed out the victory ahead of PayPal, American Tower, Realty Income, and a few others, winning it with 16% of the vote. So I added more Adobe stock. Then over on Patreon, I asked which of our 10 largest holdings should I add more of, to which Extra Space Storage actually took the win, just barely over Google, Pfizer, Medtronic, and Verizon. So I did add more EXR stock too. And then finally on YouTube, I asked which of these 4 dividend stocks should we buy more of in the community portfolio, to which a whopping 47% of the votes just went to the clear winner, Pfizer, well above EXR, who was at just 24%, Verizon at just 20%, and American Tower at only 10%. So I picked up more Pfizer stock as the winner there. But in total, I spent the most amount of money on Extra Space Storage, who, by the way, I'll just tell you right now that that stock was actually dipping pretty hard like at the start of last month. And because it's one of my favorite REITs in the entire market right now, I just really wanted to make sure that I buy a lot more of it. I wanted to buy as much as I could during that time. And it actually worked out great because it's rebounded since then from those lows. And so we really went from actually being negative on the position to now being positive, which I'll show you in just a second when we go over all of the individual holdings. And I think that helped our portfolio for the month too. But from there, I also spent $20 on C3.ai, which in contrast, this one has been a terrible performer for us. So I've been trying to lower that cost basis as much as possible, but it just continues to perform very badly, which we will take a look at later. And I'll show you that it is our worst performer so far. But then I also spent $15 on Amazon, one of our largest and strongest holdings. Love that stock for sure. Another $10 each on Adobe, who's been down a lot, and American Tower and Pfizer, who each pay really nice dividends. And then finally, I spent $5 each on Duke Energy and Realty Income, who also just have very nice dividends and want to own more of those for sure, as well as Google stock, which continues to be our largest holding and has been breaking new record highs. Speaking of which, though, let's go ahead and jump into part 2 now, and let's take a closer look at all of these individual holdings in the portfolio. We'll analyze how each one is performing, and I'll talk a little bit more about what I'm looking to buy here in this current month of September as well. Okay, so here's all the holdings on SoFi, but I do break these down into custom charts so that it's easier to see for you. However, I do also post everything on Discord if you do want to take a closer look at any of this at a later time. But as usual, I typically hold around half of the entire portfolio in just 7 stocks alone, which currently are Google at 13%, the only one to actually be in the double digits, followed by Palantir at 9%, Amazon closely behind at 8%, SoFi is at 7%, EXR and Microsoft at 6% each, and then Pfizer rounds it off there at another 5%. Worth of the portfolio. Now, the only change that I would make here, just from kind of just taking a quick look at this, would be that I would like to swap probably SoFi and Pfizer for a couple of safer stocks like Vici Properties and Medtronic. But for now, I think it is still looking pretty good overall. Plus, the exclusion of Vici and Medtronic out of the top 7 means that our mid-core of stocks is even stronger with them being included in it, because it currently has just some of my absolute favorite stocks in the entire market, many of which pay really good dividends too, including not just Vici and Medtronic, but also Verizon, PepsiCo, and Tyson Foods, who are then joined along by growth tech stocks like Meta and Nvidia, which I also really like a lot long term. And then finally, I'll just mention here too that while we're on this screen, there are a few smaller positions that I really want to increase my exposure to. Those would be Bristol Myers, Duke Energy, Realty Income, and American Tower. All 4 of those have really good valuations. They trade really cheap right now, in my opinion. Plus, they also pay some of the largest dividends that you can get out there from high quality companies. I really do like their businesses for the long term. I think some of them have a lot of rebound potential. So there's a lot to like from them. And I will definitely just be looking to buy more of those in this month here in September. Speaking of which, I always like to look at which stocks I'm either like around flat or actually negative on to see if there's any bigger, opportunities out there for me to buy even cheaper into some of my favorite holdings. Well, let's go ahead and look at those now. So turning over to the individual performance of each holding, and I'll of course zoom in on these so that it's easier to see, but as you can tell, the vast majority of our stocks are well into the green, with Palantir being far and away the best performer of all, being up over 400% on that position. position, followed by SoFi being the other stock to reach triple digit gains of more than 200%. And many other stocks still performing extremely well, including lots of names in the 50 to 100% ranges, which, by the way, even our largest holding in Google actually made the list this month too, after breaking new record highs over the past month. So very happy to see that Google is doing very well for us. And then lots of other stocks here in the double digits too, including Baidu, by the way, who I think we were actually negative on them, if I'm not mistaken. I believe last month, I think they reported earnings around that time, and then the stock shot up. Wall Street really liked the earnings, so they've been doing a bit better. They've been rebounding. They were down a lot. They've been rebounding. I believe we were actually negative on it. Now we're positive on it, so that's another good sign there. And by the way, we're also up a lot on Alibaba too. So a couple of Chinese stocks there that have just been kind of soaring more recently. Anyway, where things do start to get a little more interesting is in the single digit gainers, because I would not mind buying more of any of these. I will say the ones at the higher end of that, like Verizon, Vici, and PepsiCo, I am definitely interested in, would love to have more exposure to them. But I would say for sure the ones that I'm going to be buying a bit heavier are the ones that I'm only slightly positive on right now. Those would be Realty Income. Actually just put out a video last weekend on how much I love that REIT. Also, EXR and American Tower, two other favorite REITs of mine with strong businesses in self-storage and cell towers. Duke Energy, big play on the future of energy with even some growth potential in nuclear energy too. Tyson Foods, very strong business in meats that I don't think will ever go away. And then Bristol Myers as a strong biotech there that has been heavily beaten down more recently, but pays a big dividend, has turnaround potential. To be honest though, those are really going to be the stocks that I'll be looking to buy the heaviest, the most of throughout this month here in September, as opposed to the only three stocks that we are actually negative on, which would be Pfizer, Adobe, and C3.ai. Now, it's not that I don't like those stocks that we're negative on, or that I don't want to own them long term, or, especially try to bring down my cost basis, which I could do right now by buying more of them. It's just that they are a bit riskier than all the other names that I just mentioned before that, especially C3, who I consider to be a speculative stock, not an actual, core investment, something like that. It's a stock that I don't want to be too big of a position in my portfolio here. It's more of just like a speculative bet in case it does take off in the future. But again, not a core investment that I want to be building around. So even though I do want to buy more to lower the cost basis, I still have to be careful to not get overexposed to a stock like that. Whereas the other two, in Adobe and Pfizer, I wouldn't mind buying a little more of here to lower the cost basis too, but I do already have a lot of Pfizer stock as a top 7 holding, which we looked at earlier. So even there, I do have to be a little cautious with how much I'm buying of that one too. But again, all three of them, it's not that I'm opposed to buying more of them. I might actually buy more of them for sure, because I do want to lower the cost basis, but I just have to be a little more careful with those. Whereas the other names that I mentioned before, I don't really have to be careful with those. Those are stocks that I have a lot of conviction in. I hope that makes sense. Okay, with all of that said though, that's what I'll be looking to buy here in the month of September for the community portfolio. Just to finish up, like I said before, our cash reserves are running a bit low, so I did go ahead and deposit a bonus $100 this month. So it's going to be $200 in total that I'm depositing this month. And here's how it all kind of breaks down, just so you're aware. So right before the deposit, the account was at around $3,050, and 264 of that was in cash, giving us a cash ratio of only less than 10%, which is pretty low, to be in the single digits like that. And obviously, I would say I don't take this too seriously for such a small kind of budget portfolio that I just kind of made for the community. It's not a situation where I need to have a lot of cash reserves like I do with like my larger personal portfolio or my personal finances, where I need to be more careful about how much damage that takes, and I need to have more savings and things like that for emergencies, and I just don't want to have all of that money invested. The budget community one, I can be a little more liberal with it and be out there just kind of spending most of that money because it's not a huge amount. But the thing is that if the market does go through a downturn, if we have a big correction or even like a big recession and like full on stock market crash, we do want to have some cash reserves to be able to go out there and buy heavier, especially if our stocks are going down and we're even negative on a lot of our positions. We have to be able to buy in and lower our cost basis. So we just want to make sure that we do have some cash there. Again, at any moment, I could deposit more money, so it's not like a huge deal, but it is just something where I would like the cash ratio to just be a little bit higher. So what I went ahead and did is I deposited $200 for this month, which brought the account up above 3250, and that does leave us now with a little bit more of a comfortable cash ratio of around 14%. It's still not very high, but at least that is in the double digits and gives us a little more cushion, especially since we've been going over budget so much every month. We've been spending more than 100. Let's just put in a little extra cash there so that the portfolio just has a little bit of cushion. We don't have to worry about it too much. But hey, anyway, that's going to do it for this month's update. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know if you do have any questions below, anything you want me to explain to you. You can always reach me, especially on Discord. I love connecting with you guys over there. Thank you to everyone we've been having a lot of people leaving messages lately and talking more, and it's been a lot of fun. So I really appreciate all of that. And I hope you're all doing well, my friends, and I will catch you in the next video. All right, take care, everybody. Bye-bye.